Who is JoJo? In what sounds like a philosophical answer, JoJo is not one person. Rather, it's a recurring nickname for many members of the Joestar bloodline at different points in time. This is the simplest part of the franchise's lore to follow. For the uninitiated, the rest is a befuddling mix of melodrama and whimsy, and All-Star Battle makes very little effort to educate you in such matters. This is a bit of a theme with this game, as not only does it fail to provide any sort of introduction into this established and confusing universe, it really doesn't tell you how to play either. This is a shame, because not only does the colourful outlook seem like it would be a ton of fun if you were in on the joke, there are also a load of interesting mechanics at play that are never really taught in depth. To this end, the Undercooked practice mode proves a token effort, only allowing you to batter a toothless opponent that can merely attack as much as you set them to. This seems a massive oversight in comparison to other recent genre efforts, where great strides have been made in teaching new players important subtleties. Mysteriously too, it's the story mode that builds itself as a place to learn, yet no actual teaching ever takes place. Here you play through one of 7 parts, with each part representing a different time period in the JoJo canon. This mode is surprisingly stunted. You only have access to a handful of key fighters as you reenact significant fights from the source material, and, as such, you find yourself fighting the same few foes over and over again. This resulted in an incredibly boring endeavour for this non-fan, and sadly it's essential if you want to unlock all the available free characters. Couple this with the context-free dialogue plus masses of text during lengthy loading screens, and it's natural that I found much more entertainment in the classic arcade mode. Still, once you start getting a feel for the various gameplay systems, there is a decent, if slightly ropey fighting game lurking underneath. All-Star Battle follows the old 3-button high, medium, low attack setup, and as typical of the genre, you'll also have an impressive number of special moves alongside which to knock 7 bells out of your opponent. Each character also makes use of a distinctive style that opens up extra abilities. A character with a Hammond fighting style, for example, can enhance their strength, while stand users can channel a persona-like creature who they will attack through. The one that took me by most surprise, however, was the mount style, allowing my opponent to jump onto horseback. Using these abilities can be a bit of a gamble, as in many cases they'll simply make you more vulnerable to attack, so there's a nice risk and reward system in place for using them. Of course, a modern fighting game wouldn't be complete without super moves, and All-Star Battle is no different. There are 2 levels of super here. The Heart Heat attack, for example, is an ostentatious move that can be performed when one level of your gauge is full. A more powerful super, the Great Heat attack, is possible with 2 bars, and its extravagance somehow makes what was ostentatious look positively dreary in comparison. Land these in the right places, and you can also trigger a dramatic finish, which ends fights with even freakier and often hilarious consequences. Dig deeper and you'll find yourself with even more to think about. When a character's health gets low, for example, they'll enter a rage which rapidly builds their heart heat gauge and makes them hit harder, a great level in lopsided fights. Stage interactions too have an important part to play. Should you or your foe be felled in glowing areas of the stage, you'll trigger damaging events that can periodically knock you for 6 if you're caught in a blast. This could be causing a chariot to run dangerously through the arena, cars to drive through your path, or bolts of electric to rain down from a nearby street sign. My personal favourite though was the ghostly serial killer flying around the room in a Polaroid photo, trying to hit you with a butcher's knife. This quirky flair is a huge part of what All-Star Battle does best, turning the most mundane action into a thrilling event. Even something as basic as a throw gets the royal animation treatment here. However, for all the flashiness, there are times when any potential rhythm gets stunted through its design. General movement, for example, is remarkably slow, so moving across the screen can be a pain. There is also a long cooldown period after even some of the simplest attacks, which leaves you vulnerable a smidgen longer than it needs to. Even some of the heart heat attacks can get in the way of any natural flow, and it's for that reason I found it hard to enjoy all it had to offer. Also, while it looks and runs great with its manga art style, the audio can be a little too much at times. The soundtrack is great, don't get me wrong, an awesome mix of upbeat jazz, but the shouts of general combat just hit a point where they grated on me enormously. Sure, you expect some recurrence in a fighting game's audio, but unaided by the AI's tendency to spam the same moves continuously, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure takes repetition to a whole new level. Online is often an important component for most fighting games, but All-Star Battle comes up short in this area. Offering only ranked and player matches, the Versus mode is riddled with lag that instead of causing customary stuttering, pauses the action periodically to advise you that it's transmitting data. Button lag 2 was a massive drag, with actions being performed almost half a second after the input, resulting in moments where attempts to execute single forward jumps could yield multiple jumps instead. I can't wholly rule out the possibility of the infamous crappy internet connection as an issue, but when I've been playing other fighting games without problems over the last year, it's hard to believe that the issues are all on my side. There is an interesting pseudo-online option on offer called Campaign Mode, where you battle against a string of player-customised AI characters in the hope of finding bosses. While there's some really cool stuff in here, such as the ability to buy status effects, I still favoured the uncluttered approach of the arcade mode. That said, the campaign is still a far more varied and pleasing option than the story mode. There is definitely a lot to like about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle, a whole lot in fact. It's got a tremendous amount of heart and a spirited personality that's completely its own, and it didn't matter one bit that I didn't always understand what the hell was going on or why, because it just carries itself in such an entertaining fashion that I couldn't help but go along with it. That said, there are some definite issues that prevent it from being a standout in its genre. The lack of a solid training component is surprising, the story mode just isn't that much fun given its importance, and elements of the core mechanics aren't as refined as they should be. Throw in a problematic online mode, and you're left with a fighter that is certainly worth a look, but just not as strong as its direct competition.